Hello, welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for Speedy Gonzales, and with me today to speed through this review, kinda, sorta, maybe, and get some cheese, which I know one of my guests really doesn't like, are my good friends Matt Hunter and Manny Cruz, the Toonie Tenor.
Hello, pussycats.
Hello, everyone. If you're wondering who the guy who hates cheese, it's me.
I love cheese so much that I know the translation of queso. So, as mentioned, this is a review for Speedy Gonzales, released on the 17th of September 1955. It's the 750th, oh my goodness, in the series.
Da-da-da.
Dun-da-da, hooray, celebration time. And it's directed by Friz Freleng. You can find this beautiful restoration. It was first done for the Looney Tunes Golden Collection Volume 1 using an older master, but then it was remastered in HD, as you like to say there, Manny. HD on the Looney Tunes Platinum Collection Volume 1 Blu-ray set. Both have an audio commentary by Jerry Beck on there. Definitely get either one of those sets, you can't go wrong. But it's under copyright, so you won't find it here unless Warner Brothers themselves put it up on their own channel. Will they, won't they? I don't know, but it's up to them, yeah? But, in case you haven't seen this one, not really too much happens. You've got Sylvester guarding a cheese factory on, I'm assuming, the American side of the border, for reasons.
And the mice are hungry, they want some cheese, but they can't get past Sylvester, and so they need somebody that can get past Sylvester. They end up calling Speedy Gonzales.
Yes, but you go and wonder, though, there's Sylvester there 24/7. Is he, do they have other cats as well, you know? Big questions. This short doesn't answer him, therefore it's an automatic 0 out of 10, of course. You know, it's a worthless cartoon as a result, clearly. But in terms of trivia, we'll get the obvious one out of the way. Now, it's not the first appearance of Speedy Gonzales. There was a version that appeared in Cattails for 2 in 1953, and that was done by Bob McKimson, and he had that, I guess, stereotypical Mexican gangster type look with a gold tooth and so on. But here it's been redesigned as more appealing.
Holly Pratt was kind of Friz Freleng's right-hand man, co-director, and he also did most of the character designs. And I think he decided, okay, we want to use Speedy Gonzales that McKimson had done, but he looked at the design and he thought, that's kind of rough looking. He had kind of a gold tooth and he had shaggy hair. And at the first part of the cartoon, you can barely see it because he moves so fast, but he has a kind of a pointy green sombrero. And they're like, okay, that's a good character, but we need to make him cuter. And so that's what they do here. They make him a lot more appealing.
So I confirmed this with our mutual friend Essie McPeter. So essentially, how this cartoon came to be was they wanted to actually reuse Speedy Gonzales, but they weren't sure if Bob McKimson was coming back or not because they were reassembling the units due to the shutdown. But during that period of time, you had Friz Freleng and Warren Foster. They were actually still at the studio, sort of like a skeleton crew, and they worked on this. They actually came up with the idea and got it all done. And when the studio reopened, this short was...
It was ready to go.
It was, yeah, they basically made it. I gotta say, the design of Speedy, it was definitely a good call for them to redesign it, and it's not even anything to do with the whole stereotypical bad guy looking nature of the original thing. It's just that this is just cute. It's also marketable. They can make also merchandise, or as Mel Brooks says, yeah, merchandise. They sell the picture, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's such an appealing design, and is it any wonder that this character is beloved? Even beloved by a lot of people from Mexico too. Hugely popular.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know how many people know this. I know that I've been on a podcast or two before for other people and talked about it, but when I was in high school, way back in 2001 or 2002. Manny, you would remember this. We were part of the internet even back then.
Yeah.
Cartoon fandom. I remember emailing, because back then you could just email somebody at the Cartoon Network. We were all curious, hey, why are they showing any Speedy Gonzales cartoons? Because the network had just gotten all of them. They got the rights to play all the Looney Tunes. I'd be like, well, there's no Speedy. And some lady publicist emailed back and said that Ted Turner himself had actually reviewed them and said, you know what, I don't like these. They're too stereotypical. We're not going to show them on our channel. I remember posting that somewhere, and that made a lot of people mad. Back then, there was this petition website that you could just go on and write a petition to somebody. The lady said, well, you get like 1,000 signatures or something. We'll put Speedy back on the air. Just some off-the-cuff thing like that. Like, you know, go away, kid, you bother me. And I remember we did this thing, and it caught wind of all the message boards and stuff. And it got several hundred signatures. And I thought, wow, this is kind of crazy. And then Jerry Beck picked it up. And one of the other main cartoon sites at the time, I can't remember, it was like Animation World News or something. They picked it up. And what really made it go crazy was this League of United Latin American Citizens, like a watchdog group for Latinos. They got on it and they said, well, what are they doing censoring Speedy Gonzales? He's not offensive to us. In fact, he's a hero. We like Speedy Gonzales. Stop it. And all of a sudden, then I remember it made, I think it was Rush Limbaugh talked about it. And I think like Bill Maher and all the, right wing, left wing, everywhere political commentary. It made a big news story. And, Cartoon Network decided, you know what, we probably better just leave it alone and start showing these cartoons again. And they did. Because the petition ended up getting like 2,000 plus people. And they're just like, okay, you win.
I'm looking at the character. He's a positive role model, and he wins. He's a winning character.
My entire life, I've been familiar, obviously, with Speedy. I am not Mexican-American. I'm Puerto Rican and Cuban. But pretty much from my experiences from New Jersey, I was born here. And our area is predominantly Latinos from the Caribbean, like Puerto Rico, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Colombia. And we do have a decent amount of Mexicans in this area, but most of the nation, the biggest demographic of Latinos are Mexican. So I'm somewhat familiar with some of the things of their culture. But in general, we've never, I'm talking about Latinos in general, never really seen Speedy in a negative light, like exactly what you guys are saying. Like, we've always viewed him as a hero, as a champion. And when the whole controversy of Speedy came up, like when Matt was saying around 2001, 2002-ish, when I was still pretty new to this hobby, and I remember seeing like reports about it on Univision, which is the biggest Spanish-speaking channel here in the United States, and pretty much like saying like, what's the problem? We all like Speedy Gonzales, especially Mexicans. A lot of Mexican Americans that I've spoken to, I don't think a single one has ever said anything negative about Speedy. They're like, we like him. He's a champion. He's a hero. One of my voice teachers when I was in graduate school, he's Mexican American himself. And he knew that I loved Looney Tunes, and he actually talked about voice acting in my lessons to help incorporate some of the musical ideas. And he was always like, yeah, I've loved watching Speedy Gonzales ever since I was a kid. When that whole controversy came out and pretty much it was deemed offensive for Speedy Gonzales, I mean, look, obviously the three of us, we're all Looney Tune nerds and historians. We know the ins and outs of these cartoons really well. All of us combined have seen every single short, and I'm in the process of still working on that. And we know the good, the bad, and the ugly, especially the long and sad history of these cartoons having a lot of racial stereotypes and sexist material and stuff that just doesn't bode well in our time. There are some aspects of the cartoon that come out of ignorance, like when I was rewatching the cartoon, a lot of the Spanish is jumbled nonsense. Some elements of it were made up. Like, there's one thing I'll talk about in a bit. I'm like, that's not the word. Like, that's not even correct.
Kind of along the same lines as Pepe Le Pew's French. It's another language that they're playing with. And some of it is pretty clever in terms of what they use. For example, Speedy Gonzales, in numerous cartoons, he uses the word pussy gato, which is obviously, pussycat.
Yeah.
But no actual Mexican person says pussy gato.
Yeah.
I do to my cats because it's funny. But, it's fractured Spanish, just like you have fractured French and Pepe Le Pew. It wasn't meant to be offensive to anybody.
I guess some of the Latinos and especially Mexican Americans were saying, why are white people worried about being offensive on our behalf? I guess that's the only way I could think of saying it. I think at the end of the day, what allows him to be enduring is that he is one of the few Looney Tune characters that's consistently portrayed as a hero, as a winner. Like, who? Speedy, Bugs Bunny.
Occasionally Porky.
Yeah,
in the
Porky
early days.
Occasionally. And
but
that's it. So,
nearly every major Looney Tunes character is based on some kind of major human flaw, some kind of a vice or a sin or something associated with them. They have a flaw. Daffy is greedy, and Foghorn is lazy. The Tasmanian Devil, he's a glutton, and you could go on and on. But then Speedy Gonzales, aside from Bugs Bunny, is the only one who really has a moral compass. And half the time Tweety is just kind of hiding behind Granny in some of the later cartoons. He doesn't really represent any kind of sense of justice. He's just trying to get away from Sylvester.
If we watch the short itself, putting aside the Speedy character, it's really a short we've seen plenty of times by this point. There's the same type of gags, especially if it's Freeling short. You've seen similar Sylvester and Tweety shorts that play out pretty much like this. There's a goal for Sylvester to try and get the bird, but he does all these things, and obviously things happen to him. So you've seen this sort of thing before, but yeah, Speedy Gonzales being this wonderful character, it elevates it up, and it even elevated it to the point where this actually won an Oscar.
The winner is Speedy Gonzales, Edward Seltzer.
He won the Academy Award for Best Animated Short at the Academy Awards in 1956, and other shorts since then, there have been a few that were even nominated too. So it's clear that Speedy Gonzales has a massive impact.
Not to mention that some of these gags are really funny.
And one other thing I'll point out, because there is misinformation out there that Stan Freberg does some of the voices here, that's not correct. According to Keith Scott's, as part of his wonderful cartoon voices book, some of the other mice that you hear are done by a person by the name of Jack Edwards. If you've listened to the Hide and Hair commentary that you and I did, Matt, he recorded something there.
He was the guy we were trying to figure out.
Yeah. So he does some voices here. So any mouse that does not sound like Mel Blanc, which is mouse, I think, 2 and 3, every other mouse is basically Jack Edwards, not Stan Freberg, although I can hear how people would have gotten Stan Freberg, but it's not. So I just wanted to clear that up, because we don't like misinformation out there, do we? Cough, happy rabbit, cough. Right, Manny?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. There we are. Beautiful. But yeah, we'll go through the short from start to finish, and we'll go through why this is a solid short, whether you like Speedy or not. And again, I don't know who wouldn't, but anyway, I guess there are people out there like that. So we see everything is established right away. We see this factory that's Ajax, not Acme. So I guess in the Red Scare era, they want to promote capitalism by having a competing company or something. I don't know. I don't think they're thinking that far into it. But no, it's Ajax, not Acme.
They made some Birdseed and something else in Roadrunner cartoons, too. There's one that uses Ajax, so I guess they just wanted to have a different company.
Nowadays, Ajax would be a subsidiary of the Acme Corporation that owns everything. They would have merged several times, and they create, birdseed and cheese and cars
and weapons of mass
destruction.
All in one factory, yes.
Time, Ajax, Acme, Discovery.
Yeah, damn right, yes, exactly. But we establish everything. The factory's guarded by Sylvester on the Mexican-American border. And we see some mice that they just want to get the cheese, fair enough. I mean, even though mice in real life don't actually eat cheese, but, we'll just go with the cartoon trope here. And sure enough, they decide to draw the short straw and send somebody else over, because they've clearly tried this a few times without success. But look at Manuel. Yeah, I guess that's your namesake here, Manny. Manuel? Is it Emmanuel or Manuel? I'm trying to hear it.
So for the listeners that don't know, Manny is my nickname. My real name is Emmanuel. Or in Spanish, it's Emmanuel. Emmanuel. However, in this cartoon, the mouse is
We'll hold your sombrero for you, Manuel. What with Pedro?
Manuel. Manuel. Which normally is considered to be like the Spanish version of the name. I know people who are Manuel, Emmanuel, or different spellings, and much to the confusion, because people assume that it's a Hispanic name, it is not. And I've had to let some of my relatives and other Spanish speakers know that it's actually a Hebrew name.
It's a biblical name.
It is.
Right.
It means with us, God, in Hebrew. And that's
God
why I drive around sometimes and I see synagogues and temples I was like, oh, my name's on there. And when I heard it in this cartoon, I was like, oh, it's almost like my name, because most people call me Manny, like 90% of people. I have rare people that call me Emmanuel, and Spanish speakers normally, when I hear a native speaker, they usually go with Emmanuel, or sometimes shorter, Manuel. So I guess I was in this cartoon the whole time, and the other Speedy Gonzales cartoons and the other ones set in Mexico, you have usually Jose. I know tons
Jose
of
and
Jose's. And Pedro, I've grown up with a guy's named Pedro. And other, I guess, generic Hispanic names you could think of. Just like, if you did a Pepe Le Pew short, you got Pierre and Jacques and, insert French name here.
But this mouse doesn't want the cheese any more than you do, clearly.
Exactly. So you could definitely
get slaughtered by Sylvester.
You could definitely tell that Friz Freleng and Warren Foster predicted the future.
This part here is a great example of Friz Freleng's direction, because when I was younger, Friz Freleng shorts were seen as, I don't know, just weren't as fun, I guess, as the Chuck Jones or the Bob Clampett stuff, right? But as I get older, I appreciate the Friz Freleng stuff more. This scene of Manuel drawing the short straw, looking all shocked, I love that expression, by the way, creeping up, going through, we see the shot of Sylvester looking on, ready to get his prey, and we don't even see the brutality of it. We just cut away as the two other mice look on in horror as to, unfortunately their friend is now passed, and They throw sombrero onto the pile.
That's kind of dark, though, isn't
Yeah.
it? I mean, and Frizz was, I'm coming to realize, a master of the off-screen gag. And people have argued with me about the TV show, Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries, that was really a tribute to him. Something that show never really got the hang of, that was Frizz Freeling's gift, was that show showed all the graphic and violent things happening to Sylvester. Sylvester took a pounding in that show. But the thing is, it's not as funny when it's on screen. It's funnier when something bad happens to somebody and you just have to imply what happened. And Warren Foster was a master of this too. If you watch some of the early Hanna-Barbera cartoons that he did for TV, it had off-screen gags where it was funnier to see somebody get conked over the head, but not see it.
Yeah, I think Yogi Bear, I think he wrote some of those.
Yeah, but how many times in those where obviously it was a budget cut where you could just shake the background for impact and make a sound effect that something bad happened to the character off screen. But it's funnier to have that and then see the character after or not even see him at all. You imply what's off screen.
Exactly, but it's been really well directed, and the cuts that were chosen here just showed why Freeling was a master director and, of course, a master at timing as well. So, we established the morbid nature of the very beginning with that pile of sombreros. I mean, that's pretty brutal.
Pretty much you guys hit the nail on the head. And one thing I'll get into, obviously, with the music in a little bit, but going again with one of the gifts that Freeling was so great at is the timing itself of that specific scene of the mics cheering on Manuel, like, yeah, boom. And then you hear the sound, pretty much a realization that Sylvester ate Manuel. And then just a few seconds for it to linger, and then when they throw the sombrero away, and it's just like, with another director, not like St. Jones or McKinson wouldn't do it well, but Freeling in particular, he waited just long enough to give you that hope that Manuel is going to make it, and then boom, Sylvester kills him. They linger for a few seconds, and then the hat's thrown. And in my opinion, it's one of the more darker jokes that I've seen in a Warner short. I'm so used to seeing, this character gets blown up, or this character gets squashed, or this character gets whatever. And then the next scene, everything's hunky-dory. It's like, no, like, Manuel's dead. Like, Sylvester ate him. That's it. And it's definitely one of the more morbid scenes in one of these shorts. I love the score of this entire cartoon. But just the way Carl Stalling scored that moment where it's a little bit more somber when the sombrero goes into the pile, it definitely sends a little bit of a chill down your spine.
But moving on to the next scene, though, we have the group, they're trying to figure out what to do. They really want this cheese. The leader, I'm assuming it's the leader. I mean, they don't really establish it, nor do they have to. But he suggests that they get the services of the Speedy Gonzales. He's a friend of my sister, and we get the joke, which would have gotten over the heads of every kid watching this when it was repurposed for children's entertainment later on for Saturday mornings. Speedy Gonzales is a friend to everybody's sister.
Everybody's sister.
Speedy Gonzales, fastest mouse in all Mexico. Can you get this Gonzales fellow? Sure, I got him. Speedy Gonzales, friend of my sister. Speedy Gonzales, friend of everybody's sister.
Yeah, so he's a bit of a ladies' man, and who can blame him? He's a nice-looking fellow. He's got charm. But, yeah, they would pepper all these adult jokes in there, and, people think cartoons are only for kids, when, no, these were originally more geared towards adults, but really for everyone. So, there's that. But I thought it was funny, and the leader goes to this carnival attraction to shoot Speedy and win this is what like a Pepe Le Pew type joke, except it's a Spanish version, win big prize. It's what you mentioned before, Matt. The whole, fake
Fractured language, yes.
Yeah, so I guess for them it's like, hey, we can do it for the French. Why can't we do this for the Spanish? So I guess it's like fair game kind of thing. Is it cringy? Yeah, but that's why they did it. So you just sort of shrug and go, okay, all right, it's there, But it does beg the question, though, do these human characters actually hear Speedy? Are they just shooting at this mouse that's at this carnival attraction? It brings up too many questions, damn it. Just overthinking everything, of course. But
you are overthinking it. Yes,
I know. I'm kidding, of course, everyone's listening. We see that Speedy is challenging the shooters to try and get him, and he gets distracted by the leader, and one of them actually shoots a hole through his sombrero, but then the next shot, that hole disappears, which, again, that makes this short 0 out of 10 because of the inconsistency there, clearly. Lack of continuity. 0 out of 10, damn it. But no, I do have the question, man. You're mentioning like a fractured Spanish thing. I mean, is any of the Spanish they speak in this scene accurate at all?
Se le mete el gringo pussycat. El gringo pussycat, probablemente. Probablemente grosso. Gonzales existe ancho, camaradas?
Sí, González Apolada, asistiantes camarados.
Gracias, señor Speedy. Gracias.
Not really. I mean, I've seen this cartoon multiple times, and I did a rewatch. But there are certain things that they say that I'm like, what? Is that supposed to be Spanish? Or I'm either thinking, A, it's that. B, they're probably saying a word in Mexican Spanish, because obviously Spanish, it's what unites Latinos and Hispanics in general. But Mexican Spanish is definitely different from Dominican Spanish and Puerto Rican Spanish, whatever. So I'm like, certain words I don't understand. But one thing that really, I was like, come on, dudes, really? Like when Speedy and, I don't know what this mouse's name, Juan, there you go. That's my middle name. So I'll call him Juan. So Juan and Speedy are talking. And, you know, I'm like, probablemente means probably. Problema is problem. I'm like, that means probably. Are you serious?
Yeah.
And just like bits and pieces, I'm like, what the heck are they saying? It's like bits and pieces, and a part of me is thinking now, I'm like, so now I understand what a French speaker must feel when they watch Pepe Le Pew. So, yeah. But that one in particular, I'm like, problema. It's literally problem, and then put an A at the end. But it says, no, probably.
After all that, we set things up pretty quickly, and that's what I like about a lot of the Ron Foster shorts around this time. Like, a lot of the setup just happens fairly quickly, and now it's like, okay, we know what's going to happen. Speedy, working on behalf of all these mice, is going to get the cheese and get past Sylvester, who's going to try and stop him.
Ole, arriba, epa, arriba, ándale.
Because Sylvester doesn't think much of this mouse. It's like, oh yeah, it's just going to be another mouse. And Speedy ends up entering the cheese factory and bringing back some cheese. But I wanted to ask you guys, is this a baseball reference of some kind or a sport reference? Because it goes El Cheese Bowl. Is that referencing a particular stadium or a seating thing?
It has to be. This cartoon came out in 55, and the first Super Bowl was 1967. So it's definitely before that. But college football definitely has all different types of bowls. The Rose Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the Cotton Bowl. So I'm guessing it's a reference to like something with college football.
But it's like cheese bowl is also a literal dish as well, so they're just playing up on words. That's probably really all it is. Yeah, there must be a reference to something. I mean, why would they put it in there? It's clearly a pun, but a pun on what? And yeah, I think that's probably what it is. But I love the fact that Speedy goes again, and he actually gets caught by the net, so you got that brief moment where you think Sylvester's succeeded. I mean, you know he's not, but you sort of think it for a brief second. But then Sylvester's dragging along that cacti, that always cringy bit, just just going over, and then through the pipe.
And then back again. Yeah.
Exactly. And Sylvester's expression after Speedy escaped from the net, he's just clearly shell-shocked. He's like, what just happened? I'm usually good at this. What's going on? There's great expressions there. It's fantastic. And I would imagine that some of the more looser sections of this short in terms of animation would have to be Art Davis, because he tends to be more looser. So we got the beautiful mouse traps, and I love the music that's played. And again, Manny, you'll obviously, you're going to go through the music.
That's kind of where you get some parallels with the Roadrunner, because that's a totally Wile E. Coyote gag with whatever's on the road. The Roadrunner runs by and flies off and hits the coyote. I think that exact same gag is in a Roadrunner cartoon as well.
It's an interesting little parallel. I mean, the different writers, for those unaware, Mark Maltese wrote the Roadrunner stuff, and Foster did the Speeds, at least early on. I think Ted Pierce did some too.
Yeah,
the Kimson ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here I come by you again, Senor Pussycats. Arriba, ole,
That's a short, sweet gag, but yeah, ouch. Seeing that one shot of the mousetrap on his lips, just, that's really bad.
And then there's a gag, though, that's always been kind of weird to me. It works, but it shouldn't. And it's right after the mousetrap gag. There's a baseball gag. Okay, Sylvester's hiding behind a rock. We cut to that, and then we cut to him coming out dressed as a baseball catcher. And we're like, how does he know? You know? And then, okay, he catches a baseball out of nowhere, and then he throws it into the cheese factory. I'm like, you idiot. Did you not know that's Speedy Gonzales inside a baseball? That's total cartoon logic.
Love it. Manny, is that regulation gear that he's wearing? Is it accurate?
I mean, it looks like a pretty accurate catcher's outfit. He's got the mask, he's got the glove, he's got the padding in the front. But hold on, now that you mention
But
it,
there's no setup to it. It's like, okay.
it was totally random. And also, too, assuming this is set near the border, near, let's say, Texas, for example. I mean, this was before Matt's beloved Texas Rangers existed. In the sense of baseball wouldn't make any sense. Okay, I was looking at the scene again. I was trying to remember whether or not Sylvester had the glove on the right hand, because I've never seen a catcher in baseball who is left-handed. It's very rare. Like, pretty much every catcher is a right-handed,
Right.
thrower. But, yeah, he does have the catcher's mitt on his left hand, and he throws it with his right. So, good. The baseball gods are pleased.
They are pleased indeed. But I love Speedy saying,
Hello, pussycats.
"Hello, pussycats." Like, he's just so confident. He's just really just taunting him now. That delivery just kills me. It is so good. And Sylvester's just pissed. But the landmine gag that comes next, I love how they twist a few things here in relation to what you're going to expect. I mean, first of all, how easy is it for Sylvester to get landmines? I mean, I know if I try to get landmines, I'd be put in some sort of list.
Government
Army
is
surplus.
watching you.
They are now, because they're hearing me now. But, getting the army surplus and that. But anyway, he gets the landmines. But I love the anticipation of it, where he sets up all the landmines, and Speedy surprises Sylvester, and they start running through this field, and then there's the realization, crap, I'm in the middle of a minefield here. So he continues running, and you as the audience are thinking, oh yeah, he's just going to run a little bit, or maybe take one step and just blow up, right? That's what you would expect. But no, he keeps going, nothing happens. And he breathes a sigh of relief. Then he takes one step on a bit that's unmarked, and then boom, he blows up. I like the twist on it, because you would expect it to have been done in the field itself.
And then I love that bit of animation there where he's hiding behind the rock before Speedy scares him, and he just like flips his tail. That is a total cat thing. When the cat is anticipating something, cats will, flip their tail like that. I thought that was great.
Even though that's probably the only thing animated there, it's still nice to see that put in the effort to make the character alive,
Right, because otherwise he's just standing there behind the rock and there's nothing animated, so they move his tail. That kind of subtlety, you wouldn't get it in some of these later 60s Speedy cartoons where they're really stiff. That's an element of life that's still clinging around from earlier in animation history.
And then we get the gruesome gag, the pipe. So they set everything up, pipe is set up, and Speedy even asks to be timed.
This time I do it much faster. Time me.
He goes through the pipe and through Sylvester himself, which out, but then at the topper, he goes to the factory. Instead of going through the hole, no, he has to go back. He has to go through Sylvester's tail again and then through the pipe. Just, ouch. Just the logistics of that. Ugh, yeah, just don't want to overthink that one, but yeah, ouch. Very
Gruesome, isn't it?
So now Sylvester is incredibly fed up, and he overhears that Speedy's going to say, and now I'm going to get all the cheese, which I know that's what Manny says on a daily basis. I'm going to get all the cheese when he goes to any restaurant. Sylvester grabs all the cheese, and he says his only line in the short.
This time I get all the cheese for you.
Now just try and get all the cheese.
And he intends to destroy all of it. Fine, I'm just going to blow up the cheese. And then it backfires on him. The cheese is blown up, but then it rains cheese all over the mice. He's essentially given them what they wanted. And what follows is one of the funniest expressions of frustration ever in a cartoon. In fact, there's a gif of it out there with Sylvester just pounding his head against the power pole in frustration. I just love that.
Yep, and Speedy, to end the short, I like this pussycat fellow. He's silly. And, what a great way to end it. And is it any wonder that this character took off? It's just such a charming little character, but What's also charming is the music. So many. I'm pretty sure we hear the Latin Quarter throughout this whole short. You know, only French music, right?
Yeah, of course. So it's time for Manny's Music Time with music trivia for today. Or es tiempo, Manny's music. Es tiempo para el tiempo de música de Emanuel. No, never mind. All right, so
Sounds like Krusty
Here
going,
I-
no.
yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Love that part.
What the hell was that?
That's every time I hear a recording of myself. For a moment, I didn't remember, but then, it popped in my head again. But I don't know. At one point, I was watching the cartoon, I was like, Franklin sounds an awful lot like Stalin. This one, and I was like, this is Stalling. But obviously, the cartoon starts off with the Merry Melody Sing, Merrily We Roll Along. And in the opening titles, you hear Habare Tapatio, which is a traditional Mexican song. Or, as most people think of it, as the Mexican hat dance. I was doing a little research, not too much, but this specific piece of music was written sometime about 100 years ago. But most people associate it with the Mexican hat dance. And for most of this cartoon, the music is Carl Stalling originals. Now, speaking of which, I don't remember if it's the first or second volume, but the Carl Stalling Project, the score of this cartoon is in one of those releases. And I absolutely love the beginning of this cartoon after the opening titles, when you hear that little snippet just before you see one of the mice looking like, oh, Sylvester's coming.
Amigos, al arte cuando menos comentada. Pussycat.
And I wish they...
Pussycat.
Yeah, that part. And I wish, Carl Stalling expanded more on that little chunk. I just love the way it's written. And yeah, you don't hear another cue until you get to the scene where Speedy is at the shooting gallery, and you hear the song Muchacha, which was written by my buddies, Harry Warren and Al Dubin, or as I like to say, the Lennon and McCartney of the Warner Brothers universe.
What's the matter, amigos? You missed me, huh?
Later on, when Speedy makes his grand entrance, the hero has arrived to save the day. You hear the song In Caliente, which was written by Mort Dixon and Ali Rubel. Now, both Muchacha, ba 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 da 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 da, that one, and ba-dum ba-dum ba ba-da-da-dum ba-da-da-da-dum, you hear those two particular pieces in a lot of Warner Brothers cartoons. The Timid Toreador, that's one I can think of. I can't think of the other ones at the moment. But that music is usually associated with Mexican culture. And the reason is because both of those songs are from a film, actually, from the 1935 film In Caliente, which is set in Mexico. So they are not Mexican pieces per se, but they have a Mexican flavor to it. And especially, like I said, in these cartoons, Carl Stalling usually leans on quote-unquote Mexican music, even though only the first one is an actual piece of Mexican music. And yeah, everything else in this short is all original. And like I said, if you get the chance to get the Carl Stalling Project, definitely check out the score that's contained in that disc. And also on the Platinum and Golden Collection release of this cartoon, they do have a music-only track for you to listen to and really enjoy this score.
Yeah, it's a great one.
That's it for the music.
Yeah, because the original cues here definitely have that wonderful Mexican flavor. And by this point, they're using less and less musical puns because I'm guessing that to cut costs, they didn't want to pay potential royalties or whatever. They still use some, like We're in the Money and whatever, but yeah, they seem to be relying on that less and less as we go along.
Yeah. Well, is it public domain or do we own it? And it was probably Stalling more than anybody knew.
Yeah.
He was a musical encyclopedia, I think is what Chuck Jones called him. The guy knew every song ever written, practically, and he knew who owned it.
In terms of a score, this one, look, I guess it's not a go too short for me, But it's a great short, though. So, you know, I don't really have any nostalgia for it or anything like that, but it's so well made. I can't bring myself to give this one a low score. It just Speedy's such a charming character. The gags are great. There's no duds out of all the gags. And, you know, what can I say? Yeah, I reckon 9.5 out of 10. Yeah, I really like this one. But it's not a go-to one.
I think so too. I think 9.5 out of 10. It's not like, you know, the greatest ever made, but it's one of them. It's a good one.
So, Manny, what's your score?
Yeah, I have to agree. It's definitely not my go-to short, but I do enjoy what. Oh, sorry. My dog was going crazy right now. Maybe she was thinking about cheese. You do have to pay the cheese tax for dogs. You know, that's a really cool song. The cheese tax, the cheese tax.
She wants you to record Peppy's Puppy finally.
Yeah, she's like, hurry up, Dad. I want you to talk about dogs. It's not my go-to short, but I could see why it made such an impact. I love aspects of the score. The gags are good. I give it, I'd say, I don't know, maybe 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah,
sure.
Fair enough.
Still a really good short. And as I was explaining to a buddy before, it's not the first Speedy Gonzales short, but it's like what I always tell with people. Like, if you want to argue history, you could say that Porky's Hare Hunt is the first Bugs Bunny short, but the first short that it's the Bugs Bunny we know and love is Wild Hare. Same thing with this.
Right.
This cartoon is the first appearance of the Speedy we all know and love.
So, that will do it for this one, the 750th. So, is it all downhill from here? Well, I mean, we got Cool Cat, so it's not all downhill, I guess. But there's still some...
Groovy, baby.
Yeah, that's right, groovy, baby. I'll do reviews talking like that, because I know no one will be watching those, but... But look, there's some gems along the way with the last 250, and of course, everyone's favorite, Prehysterical Hair and stuff like that. So, you know, we'll go through all of it. But here's to the next 250. That'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and until next time, take care.
Adios, amigos.
I like this pussycat's fellow. He's silly.